this time I'd like to have Trustee Verma do the call to order and roll call.
Yes. Trustee William Lawler.
Here.
Trustee John Lasco.
Here.
Trustee Dave Mizunek.
Here.
Trustee Tara Mishra. Trustee Mark Sterling.
Present.
Ramesh Verma present. Student Representative Ruchiri Venkareddy.
Present.
Cindy Hahn. She's not. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Shall we rise to say the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item number 3 on our agenda is the approval and overview of the agenda. Everybody had a chance to look at the agenda for this evening? Any comments to the agenda? If not, I entertain a motion to approve it.
So moved.
Been moved, seconded?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor of approval of the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, the approval is unanimous. The agenda is unanimously approved. Item number 4 is our consent agenda. The consent agenda consists of the approval of claims and warrants L537, which is on pages 4 through 6, and the approval of the regular meeting minutes of November 18, 2015, which is on pages 7 through 13. Comments to the consent agenda or regarding the warrants and the regular meeting minutes? If not, I'll ask for entertain a motion to approve.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? No opposition, unanimously approved. Item number 5 on our agenda is correspondence. Any correspondence?
We do not have any this evening.
No correspondence this evening. Item number 6, a special presentation tonight for our special guest. At this time, I'd like to ask Margie Karp-Upper and Mary Ellen McCrone to the podium, please. This is really a wonderful occasion for me and on behalf of the library board that we have had 2 assistant directors with us for so many years, and that they both unfortunately are leaving at the end of this year, but they've meant so much to us, and at least in my time here, I've seen the library develop in so many different ways because of the assistant directors that it is both wonderful for all the things that you've done and at the same time kind of sad that both of you are leaving. And I am personally gonna miss you, and I know that all the board members are going to miss you. I know you've had a little luncheon or dinner this past Sunday night. Unfortunately, I couldn't attend that on behalf of the library itself, but this is a little presentation on behalf of the board. So first of all, Margie Karp-Upper, Assistant Director of the Public Services, in grateful recognition of 23 years of service to the Novi Public Library, November 15, 1993 to December 31, 2015. You have been a wonderful public service champion who has brought unique programs to our Novi residents, built long-lasting community friendships, and installed a love of reading and many. Thank you for your dedication, Novi Public Library, on behalf of the board. Mary Ellen Mulcrone, Assistant Director of the Building Operations, in grateful recognition of 29 years of service to the Novi Public Library, November 10, 1986 to December 31, 2015. You have been a wonderful organizer of patron information, library collections, and a caretaker of building services. Thank you for making our gym in the community a welcoming place to visit. Thank you so much for your dedication to Novi Public Library. Thank you. Thank you. If you want to say something, you may. Either one of you want to say anything? Go ahead.
You want to do the rap? You've been practicing.
Just thank you very much for recognizing our service to the library. It's been a long, long time that we've both been here, and things are going to be very different at the library and for us in our lives as we move forward. So thank you very much as I move on.
And I too just want to say thank you so much. It has been a great delight. I'm going to try not to cry. Mary Ellen and I have wonderful stories. Maybe we'll come back off camera and just share some of those with you. Just watching the community grow and change and mature and just become an even better place than it was 23 or 29 years ago. So thanks for the great opportunity, and we'll stay in touch. Thank you. Thanks.
I just want to take a few minutes to thank both of them, because in the last 8 years that I've been on board, I have referred to them in many instances as my right and left hand. Sunday, we jokingly use the theme of M&M, which they are, Mary Ellen and Margie. But it's when you go through the amount of changes and the positive things that we brought to the community over the last 8 years, and I know they've been on longer and have been doing that much longer than I am here in Novi, but it's been a real pleasure to have them on board and to be part of the processes that we have done over the last few years. The building project, the services that we've brought to our community, the programming that we've brought to our community, all of that was also because of their collaborations with me to do that. When you have two people with you like that side by side, it really works well. They will be greatly missed by the staff and by myself. We call it retirement, I call it celebration for them. Mary Ellen is also moving on to another position, so she is taking on a new role and taking on a new challenge with her new job. But I wish them both the very best and hope that they continue to stay on with us as friends and longtime contributors to our library. So on behalf of myself and the staff, we really truly appreciate everything that you've done for us over the last 8 years for me, but 29 and 23 for you, and all the contributions that you've given to all of us as well. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Item number 7 on our agenda is public comment. It's an opportunity for members of the public, if they have any comments to the board, to approach the podium and address the board with any of their comments. Not see anybody in the public coming to the podium, I'm going to move on to item number 8, which is the student representative report.
The Great Books to Great Movies movie extravaganza program was from November 4th to 6th. Teens watched the films Paper Towns, Divergent, and The Perks of Being a Wallflower. The Art Institute of Novi came to the Novi Library on November 13th, and students had the opportunity to meet faculty members and learn about the school. On November 21st, teens met to watch Mockingjay Part 1 at the Catching Up on the Hunger Games program, and the Teen Space had a total of 720 attendees in November.
And an update on the Teen Advisory Board. TAG dedicated their November meeting to completing their fall service project, and members used their creativities to make cards that will be delivered to patients at Providence Hospital. And the hospital has graciously offered a tour of the building for members that go to attend to deliver the cards. And for upcoming programs, the Teen Advisory Board meeting was on December 11th. The Mason Jar Cookie Time program was December 11th as well, and the Gingerbread Decorating Day is December 22nd.
Thank you. Any questions in regard to student representative report? Thank you. Next item, which is item number 9, is the president's report, which consists of our goals update and the welcome desk schedule. I'll ask Julie if she'll report on any update in the goals.
Happy to do so. Just a few things to note for you this month. On page 15, Bill Bevanek, who's from our Facilities Department, he completed a MIOSHA General Industry 10-hour training, so that's something that we tend to every couple of years keep up on for the building and just to be aware in order for safety for the library. On page 16, our 3D printer, I believe you've been aware of us winning it. It is in-house finally. We're very excited that we finally received it. And now Erin is taking the time over the next few weeks to work on putting it in place for programming, which she needs to be using in order to meet the grant requirements that she had through the American Library Association and YALSA. We're also looking at the opportunity for a public 3D print. We're going to be using it for programming at first, just to get our hands kind of more experienced with the technology and getting it moving with her program requirements, and then looking at deploying an opportunity for the public. And currently, the staff is working on policies that would work for both in-house and for the public as well for use of this new technology. On page, I'm going to flip all the way to page 21. Just to highlight at the bottom, we had the opportunity to work with a Novi Middle School robotics team. They did an actual outreach program in conjunction with our Lego Club. The students came and showed their robotics and showed how that particular club works in relation to the Lego program that we provide. So a great way to show, a community effort and a club that's out there in the community along with library programming, in the hopes of connecting some of our Lego kids with robotics. So I wanted to point that out that, that was an opportunity where someone from outside the community said, hey, we have this club. We think there's a good fit also with programming going on in the library, so we highlighted the club along with the Lego program that we currently have in the building. On page 22, at the bottom, you'll see that we completed our survey. This was done through the full month of through the full month of November. I just received the results, so you will see them in January. We had over 600 people take part in the survey, which was a wonderful response compared to other years, so we're very excited about that, and I'll be happy to share that information with you at the next board meeting in January. So be looking for that, as I just got those numbers in my hand. And then we, at the very top of page 23, wanted to let you know that we added some new play components to the race car. So this was out of some money that from our wish list with our friends. So you'll see some new fun activities for young people in our youth area to be interacting with. On page 24 at the top, I know this was mentioned last month because it had just happened, but Mark Stirring, our board president, and myself, we did provide a 1-hour overview of library operations and tour to the City of Novi's ambassador program. So I wanted to note that as we're always a month behind just because we want to make sure we give you that information. But that was a great opportunity to touch base with 20 new members of the community and connect them to the library. On page 25, there was a meeting with the Building and Grounds Committee, which is noted also in the agenda today under the Building and Grounds Committee information, and we will continue to move forward with some information related to the main entrance, which we'll talk about further. Are there any questions that I can answer for you in regard to the goals at this time?
Board members, any questions? Seeing none, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much, Marcus. Treasurer's report, item number 10, and I'm going to turn it over to our treasurer, Trustee Metro.
All right, thank you, Mark. The budget for Fund 268 is shown on pages 26 through 28, and just like every month, that will look very familiar to you. The budget hasn't changed. Just to keep a couple numbers in mind, you'll see that the projections for revenue were 2.6 million, almost 2.7 million, and expenditures of almost 3.1 million. Thus, the budget as is set up indicates that we will need to consume $414,000 of our fund balance this year. And again, that is unchanged. The revenue and expenditure report for the current fiscal year for Fund 268 is on pages 29 through 31. Let's take a look at that next. looking at the revenue, our revenue increased by about $7,500 in November, and our year-to-date revenue through November is 2.6, almost $2.7 million. So you can see we've hit and slightly exceeded what our budget was for revenue this year. So that's obviously good. Looking at expenditures, our expenditures increased by $213,000 in the month of November. The only thing really that warrants discussion out of that is how much of that $213,000 is reflecting prior month activity. We had just shy of $70,000 of expenditures that were for prior months show up in the November numbers. We've always had some amount of money that was backdated, if you will. This was a much larger amount. It's roughly a third of the total expenditure amount that we had in November came from prior months. Where that becomes somewhat problematic is as we continue through the year and we're looking at budgeting in a couple of months and we're trying to hone in on what our fund balance requirements will be this fiscal year, when you have that big of an unknown number that changes monthly, it's hard to really get a good projection based on those numbers being prior months and varying so much. There's probably a variety of reasons why we get those numbers after the month they occurred. One thing that we could consider if we wanted to have more accurate and more timely data when we meet would be to move our monthly board meeting back 1 week. It wouldn't solve all the problems, but it would certainly capture another week's worth of data and invoices that come in. And at the appropriate time, I would suggest that we at least discuss that. There would be a couple months with holidays where that may not be practical, but it might be helpful. And again, that's something we can talk about. Again, staying with our expenditures, through 5 months, we've spent $1,144,000, which is about 37% of what we had budgeted. Since we're now through approximately 41% of the fiscal year, we are running positive to budget for expenditures. We have a positive net of revenue and expenditures for Fund 268 of just over $1.5 million after 5 months. Turning to Fund 269, which is on pages 32 to 33. Again, this will be the same thing that you've seen before. Just to summarize what the budget is telling us, we had budgeted revenues of $41.7 for Fund 269, budgeted expenditures of just shy of 40. So we were showing in the budget that we would have actually an increase in fund balance of $2,000 for the fiscal year. Again, those numbers are unchanged. Turning further to page 34, you will see the revenue and expenditure report for Fund 269. Through 4 months, or excuse me, through 5 months, we've had revenue of $31,600 and expenditures of a little over $18,000, leaving us with a net of revenue of expenditures of a positive $13,000. So again, that's tracking quite well also. Take a real quick look at the balance sheets for 268 and 269. If you look at page 35, you'll see the balance sheet for Fund 268. It shows a beginning of the fiscal year fund balance of $1,719,000. You'll then see the net of revenue and expenditures that we just mentioned of $1,537,000. That brings our ending fund balance to $3,256,000. The next page has the balance sheet for Fund 269. Again, the beginning of fiscal year amount was $1,629,000. Our current year net of revenue that we just mentioned of $13,466 brings our fund balance to $1,647,881. There were no particular line items that really warrant any discussion, anything that we've already talked about, really all the issues in prior meetings, and everything's tracking quite well to budget at this point in time.
Thank you, Craig. Any questions for our treasurer in connection with his report? Moving on then to the director's report. Can we turn it back to you?
Okay, so a little bit of information about our two longtime librarians leaving, as you see noted in my report. Following that goes on to Community Reads. We had a wonderful Community Read event this year. I'm proud to share some fantastic statistics. 955 books were checked out between the 5 libraries over the about 12-week period where we hosted and pushed the community to read one book. As you can see, we had 172 guests at the actual author event, which was held at our library. And then we followed up the next day with 150 students at the Novi High School that had the opportunity to meet the author, and then a small little group of 11 at a Sunrise older adult community location that we were able to reach out to as well. This program was now in its 6th year, going strong like it has. It has wonderful support. And I truly just want to thank our partners. This is such a great opportunity for 5 libraries that include us: Northville, Salem South Lyon District Library, the South Lyon, Lyon Township Library, and Wixom Public Libraries. I mean, it's so great when we can work together and collaborate. And this really has been a successful event for all of us now for 6 years. We always kid that when we get to the end of it and we get to that November date, that we'll turn around in the new year and have to start thinking about a new author and a new title that we want to bring to the community. And that's very challenging, and we always find it difficult, but yet we seem to always impress and satisfy readers and the people who end up coming each year in the fall. And we hear such wonderful things as they walk out the door saying, "Oh, what a great author and what a great book, and thank you so much." And so it truly is a great program to be working on with a number of libraries together. Following that, I have some great news about our library van. We did sell it, and it did go for more than what we were asking, which was $4,000. We ended up taking in $4,400 for it. You will see in the next month that there was some costs incurred for the removal and changeover of the lift that went from the current van to the one that we're now sharing with the city of Novi. We'll make sure that money goes back into the account, to reimburse from that cost, but then the rest will end up in our 269 account, in building and grounds, just as some additional monies from that sale. And then Light Up the Night, we just have been partying literally since our gala in October. We have been really having a lot of great activities that have brought in a lot of people into the building. And so our final big hurrah was Light Up the Night on December 4th, which was a Friday night, which we partnered with the city of Novi on. And as you can see from the numbers, 1,500 people came in that 3 hours that were available and open from 6 to 9 p.m. on that Friday night. 2 variety shows were offered: popcorn, hot chocolate, face painting, an opportunity to get photos with our Peanuts photography area. Just a lot of fun and a lot of opportunities for us to connect with our patrons and our young families and supporters that come into the building. We ran out of hot chocolate, which I think is a good thing. That tells you, that people were excited and definitely took the opportunity from Big B, which was one of our sponsors. And then Today's Orthodontics and Pediatric Dentistry was also available and sponsoring the event. And same with 12 Oaks, which they did a raffle basket. And behind you, as the screen is moving, there is a wonderful little family there that won the basket that came in, and they were the winners of the basket for the library. So just a great night of fun and activities and a lot of spirit and just excitement for the holidays and for everyone just to gear up for just some celebration. So we had a great time there. On page 38, where I continue, is just a little overview of the JFK exhibit. We had a wonderful opportunity, and it was great to have it in the building. It is now left as of December 5th, and I'm happy to share with you, because I want people to know that if they didn't get a chance to see it at the library, it is now on display here at the city in the atrium until February. So if they didn't get a chance to stop by the library, hopefully they get a chance to stop by the city atrium here and take a glance at it. It's a beautiful collection of JFK photography done by Tony Spina. And that was, for the library, that was a sponsor with 12 Oaks, O'Brien Sullivan Funeral Home, Novi Town Center, Town and Country Eye Care, and Lifetime Fitness. So we thank all of those sponsors for bringing that collection to us. Following that, I want to let you know that, there's a couple reports that always have to be done each year. The DSLRT report, which is the Detroit Suburban Library Roundtable, that's been submitted. I have not seen any data yet. Typically, I see it closer to our budget time, so as soon as I do receive it, I'll make sure that all of you receive it electronically so that you can see how we compare with other libraries in the Detroit area. It's typically about anywhere from 40 to 50 libraries that will participate at a certain time. And then state aid, where currently I'm working with the staff to compile those numbers, and it is my goal to have that done by the new year. It's not due until February, but I always like to get that off my plate so that we can go into budget time. Gives us a good idea of numbers too for the last year too as well. And then just a little bit of where I've been out and about in the community and with the profession over the last month and a half or so, which you see noted there. We move on for page 39 and page 40 with Margie Karp-Operer's updates for public services. Things are going well with collections and different programs that have been offered in November. And following that is Mary Ellen Mulcrone's report, and she's available to answer any questions, knowing that it's building related. I have asked both ladies, knowing that they're here till the end of December, to give me one last report, kind of finishing up to 6 months. So they will do that. You will see one more report from them in January, reporting on December. But I'm going to turn it over to Mary Ellen at this time if you have any questions.
Any questions?
Yes.
Go ahead. Steve Berman.
Para number 2, there's some concrete repairs. Where are the concrete repairs to be done?
They're in various places. There are some slabs around the building that need to be redone. In particular, there are some right near the north emergency exit. And I believe there's some, a little bit on the front patio area. And the back patio, we had our staff do a bit of a repair right outside the door, but it needs to be done more completely. And that's the major part right there.
4 or 5 slabs to be replaced.
I don't know the exact number off the top of my head, how many slabs. I think it's more than that, but
So means who will be doing it?
the name of the company is,
You hired a company?
Yeah,
We did.
we've gone through bids and everything.
yeah, and that should be done in the spring.
Thank you.
I just noticed the glass panel on the second floor.
Yes.
I don't remember that one offhand. Is that the big window in the back?
This is when you come up the stairs to the second floor, if you're looking straight ahead, there's an open area with glass panels that kind of look down into the first floor. It was one of the internal panels from there that
Well, not on an outside wall.
it was not an outside. We had an outside one.
Okay.
Prior,
Okay.
about a year ago now, last summer or something.
Okay, yeah, okay. That's-
So this is a different one, and they've already been out to repair it. We're waiting just to get the detailing to make sure that people see that that's actual glass there, so. But otherwise, the work has been completed.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions?
Anything else?
Okay.
Okay, following that, we do have our statistics that you will see, and I think we're doing fairly well with those in terms of the numbers and usage with the library and different databases and different programs and our charging stations, things like that, meeting room usage as well, and then our app usage, which follows up on page 52. So I'm happy, if there's any questions, I'm happy to entertain.
A question, Verma.
The page number 44. You know, that says self-check total so-and-so, so-and-so. What do we do with this report?
What do we do with it?
Yeah, you submit every month to us. So what is the use of this?
Well, to let you know how much circulation, how many items are going out to the public, and then how the usage of the self-check in terms of usage from the patrons, how that is done. I think it's very useful to see how,
What is useful in that?
I'm sorry?
What is useful for this? You people put in so much time for this particular thing. How many were checked in, how many were self, and number one, number two?
These are all calculated electronically. We're not doing a lot of work except just, giving you the numbers. But for us, we need state aid reports. We'll need total circulation by the end of the year. I like to see this so you can see month to month, the usage of the building, the amount of people that are coming in, the usage of the self-check, which we've looked at on a regular basis to see, does it go down? Are people utilizing the technology that we want them to? And I know we've had conversations in the past with other board members, is there an opportunity to increase that and try and get those numbers higher if we can? So, providing them to you just lets you know where the usage is throughout the building, but they're easy numbers. This is not a lot of work on the staff to be providing. It's numbers that are already being tracked for you.
I would echo
Yeah.
the same sentiments or concern. In particular, I like the total circulation number
I
and the
do too.
self-check number. Whether they're coming from check 1, 2, 3, or
Right.
4 doesn't make that much difference, but I know that's how it comes out and so forth. But I definitely have a concern to know where the self-checks are and that shows up in our goals sometime, and we certainly discuss it. And I notice the total circulation is a number that you have to report for us, but also in the overall statistics for the Detroit Metropolitan Library Association.
It is. And I just think it's good statistical information for you to have, when you're talking to your constituents and your neighbors and stuff, to say, 70,000 people came in the library in November. I think that's something really good to be using as a positive, to be sharing with our community. And this way people, they have access to our board report right away anyways on the website. People can see that information too and know that, wow, it's a busy library and there's a lot of use going on. I think what's quite interesting is I think we've plateaued. We've hit an opportunity where we haven't seen it decline. We're staying pretty, even with the change in, population and stuff, we're staying pretty regular and relevant with our usage in 5 years' time since we've opened the new building, which I think is great. Would I like to see more? Of course, always. And is there an opportunity by seeing these numbers every month to say, how can we increase it? It's given me an opportunity to have a conversation with the staff that works with self-checkouts to say, is there an opportunity for us to work with the public a little more? Maybe it's time people don't know how to use it. People might be afraid of it and don't use self-check, to encourage them to use it if they want to, if they feel comfortable with it. So that's why I provide you some of that information.
Just an
Yep. Oh, sure.
I think it's an informative report. I look at it every month.
Great.
I was going to raise the question about the percentage of self-check. It stays roughly in the mid-50%,
It has.
basically all the time. Is there anything we're going to be trying to do to increase that? Because when I would work there on Mondays or just in the library checking out books, sometimes there seems to be a backup at the desk, and people, either they don't want to use the
Right.
self-checkout, or they're afraid to use the
Right.
self-checkout.
No, it's
What we could do to try to reduce that line at the desk.
It's a very valid question, Trustee Lesko. In fact, it's allowed me to have a conversation with our head of support services, which she is new. She's just into her 6-month, period of the job. And one of her goals, actually, aside from getting to know the department and making it her own and building, is also to look at this circulation. And is there an opportunity for us as, I think, employees to start reaching out a little bit to the public to help them feel comfortable with it and maybe bring up those numbers, because they might just get in line because of habit, and very much library users are creatures of habit, to get in line and see, a friendly face and not realize that there's a convenience of quickly just checking out and going out the door. So I do think there's an opportunity for some education and to teach people and perhaps bring on some new users of the technology. Yes.
There is a fairly high percentage of activity at the desk that couldn't be done self-checkout.
True.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just
And that's
when I
right.
was there, anyway.
There is. And paying fines, if you're doing it at self-check, you're only doing it through debit credit. So if someone doesn't have that, they're going to move over and pay by cash, or maybe they choose to. So there are some things that will bring them over, to work with our actual staff and work face-to-face. And we don't want to see that go away either. We like that opportunity for the good customer service to be provided. I think what's amazing is we have held, what that says is 56% though of our users of the library go to the technology. That's amazing. I know of libraries that can't get that up past 20 and 30%. So right off the bat, when we opened the building, we did a very good job of training patrons. And yes, there is an opportunity to do more, but to know that 50% of our users are using the technology, I think is fantastic.
I do think there are trade-offs if we're trying to move people to the automated checkout.
Yes.
Because the people at the desk are such good ambassadors from the library to the patrons.
Right.
That they've established, such good relationships, and their service is friendly and welcoming. And obviously, if you do it yourself, you don't
Right.
get that same feeling.
You don't,
So
and
I
we've
wouldn't
never
wanna
wanted
see
to
it
go away
all
from
move
that.
away.
Nope, and I completely agree with you. Always my philosophy, even when we were building the new building, was, yes, we want to have it, we want to give people the option. If they want that convenience, they have it. But do we want not to have that interaction with them if we can't? We do. We really do want to have that customer service component. And I think it goes a long way. Any other questions? Yes.
I was just at the welcome desk this week, and I sort of made an effort to watch to see what this percentage might be. And I didn't take any statistics, but anecdotally, I would say that just book checkout, it seemed to me to be a lot higher than 56%. And there was an age factor there
Yeah,
too.
there is, absolutely.
for sure.
Definitely, some are afraid of the technology. What's great about it when I've sat on welcome desk is because I know it and I'm comfortable enough to move over and say, if you're not, paying or anything, or you're just doing a checkout, I can show you how. And just to be invited sometimes is very helpful to them. They're just not sure. And we have new patrons all the time. I mean, we have to remember that, and that's the conversation I've had with the head of support services, is don't forget, there's always new people coming, so there is that opportunity to share and train and educate them to the new opportunities.
I was just gonna say, as a resident therapist here.
Yes.
That you also have personality types, right? So when I
Right.
go in, I love to stand in line because I wanna do this.
Right.
But my husband, he just wants to check out, so he's more introverted
Yep.
than I am. He'd
I-
rather not deal
Right.
with.
And I think it's great that we've been able to provide both opportunities through the library. Just if you want that quicker, and people are very independent now. Look at our grocery stores. Look at the self-checkout in grocery stores and what they've done. Our banks, there's a lot of that's happened. So we adopted that opportunity for more independence of a user. But at the same time, if you're not ready for that or you don't want it, you don't have to worry because the customer service is there.
I will just really quickly say, I like having the numbers, because it helps me to see outside of my own household what people are doing on a regular basis.
Selfishly, I do too, because for me, if I'm sharing them with you, it's just a reminder to me too that they're there, and I do find them important.
I'd just like to make the observation, Trustee Verma, I'm glad you raised the point you raised, because I think that point is something that, although we've kind of demonstrated why we like these numbers and the usefulness, I think the point is a good point in a general way, that we sometimes want information, and we may not use that information. And I think the point is, even these particular numbers, I think we generally want. I would like that concern that you raise to constantly be on our mind.
Absolutely.
That, are we asking our library staff or our director to do things that do take up time, that really isn't generating the type of things that we really need to justify the time being spent on it. So once again, I like the circulation numbers, I like the checkout numbers, but I think that point, we always have to keep that in mind, and I thank you for raising it, because there may be other things here that we are saying, bring us this, bring us that, and we don't really realize how much time and effort it's taking, and if we don't consider it to be of high value, we ought to consider letting the staff do other things that may be more beneficial in a more totality sense.
I completely agree, and I welcome that conversation, because if there are things that, board reports are only as good as how you use them. So if there are things that maybe don't seem needed, because we try them and give them to you as information, but maybe you don't need it all the time anymore, that's a great conversation to be having, during our goal setting and stuff, where we set up that next year and we provide this information to you. I welcome it.
Good, thank you.
If this is the time to talk about all the reports, there is one that I have a question about, if it's a decent time.
Good as
Sure,
time as any.
absolutely.
I must admit, I'm completely ignorant on the charging stations usage. How we got into it, where it's located, the connection with the library.
Sure.
I just have never caught up with that the way I should.
Great question. We have 2 charging station parking spots in the library. They're located on the south end closest to the high school. And it came about through the city, actually, because they implemented it, and they have a couple stations over at the police department, I know for sure, and then us. This now has been started, as you can see, since 11-12, when they first put in the stations. And really, they came to us just wanting to know, could they put some in? They knew that, the trend was cars needing charging stations, and that whole trend coming on. And, you've seen small numbers, and sometimes not a lot, and then a ton. So it's interesting how these numbers have come about each year. I do think it's relevant. I do believe that the city was looking forward, they were forward thinking, knowing that the automobiles, there was a demand for that and perhaps would even get bigger. So looking at public spaces where charging stations might be of value, and the library was one of those, and we had that conversation with them to bring it on board. It's a small amount of electricity that we're using. It's not much at all. I know, we had some initial costs that the city actually incurred for us, by putting in the stations, but it's not been anything but, I think, an opportunity for the community to have that convenience and that need if they have it.
Thank you.
Absolutely. We do have a little pamphlet that we make available for anyone who is using it or has concerns or runs into an issue with it, so that information is at the library.
Yeah, and I would just simply add that the cost of the library to have them installed was either zero
Yeah.
or very de minimis. So
It was a
wasn't-
grant that we actually took part in.
It really cost us nothing. But I think it was also supportive of the technology in the industry right here in Novi that has contributed to that. So not only were we providing, I think, a service to the people that might use it, I think we're also really supporting some of the industry that provides employment in the area
Absolutely.
involved in that technology. So, and it isn't used extremely
It's
much,
not.
but it's at no cost, really.
It is going up, though.
Yeah,
I mean,
the more and more, yes.
right. You look at July, I don't know if everyone just gets out their, electric cars in the summer or what, but it seems to be the highest when you look across the board, but it has gone up.
I forget who it was. There was somebody that was telling me that they play baseball or something like that, and every
And
time
they
they play, they
use-
charge
okay,
up their car.
so it's summer.
One of the guys on our team has a
Okay.
Chevy Volt,
Okay.
and when he comes to play ball, he plugs his car in there,
And then he goes-
before he goes, either before the game or after the game, and charges his car, yeah.
Well, and we figured, when they approached us, you wanted a place where you thought people would spend a little bit of time to make use of the charging. And people typically, you have those users that are quick in and out, but you do have people who spend time who would be taking advantage of it for good. Mhm. Any other questions with numbers? Okay, great, thank you. Following that, there is the Historical Commission minutes from October. Have not received November's yet. They're always a little behind in terms of their meetings, but there's some information there about that. And that's all I have this evening.
Committee reports? Unless anybody else had any questions in any of the reports collectively, if not, committee reports?
So policy, there's no action at this time. We're waiting to get through HR before the policy committee gets going. A lot of policies to get through, so I don't want to, inundate everybody with a lot of work. HR committee, we're actually meeting tomorrow. So the staff at this point has put in a number of hours to review HR policies, and I'll be sitting down with Trustee Mitchner and Trustee Verma tomorrow to start our conversations and for me to share edits and suggestions and corrections and things like that. I don't think we'll get it done in one meeting. I do think it'll take us a little bit of time. We're running into the holiday, but I do hope that maybe we'll be bringing a draft of everything to you in January to get a look over if we can get coordinated with our calendars. Anything to add to that?
No, I think you covered it.
Finance, I don't know if you want to take the lead on that, Craig?
Sure. There was a meeting held, I guess on the 11th of December, with a group called Leave a Legacy. The meeting was attended by people from a number of different libraries. It was in our big meeting room on the first floor. Julie and Mary Storch attended it. I sat in on it also. This is a group, the purpose of this group and of the meeting is they wanted to come in to talk to us, basically to get us to allow them to come in and educate the public, talking about all the thinking that goes into leaving a legacy. Obviously, it addresses endowments, but it goes into other areas also. The meeting, I think, was well received by everybody there. The big question in pretty much everybody's mind as we did a Q&A was, okay, so what's the next step? So the next step is going to be, Julie, I think, volunteered to coordinate and gather information, which really would set up a second meeting, trying to figure out if we are interested in doing this, what does it take on our part? If we have a meeting and we have people attend and we talk to them about leaving a legacy, we need to have the next step in place so that if they are interested and they say, well, gee, that's pretty interesting, how do I proceed? We need to be ready to answer that question. So at this point in time, we have more questions than we have answers. The concept behind it is quite good. It's a way of obtaining money from people who would like to give you the money. And a lot of times it's a matter of educating the people and giving them an awareness and some options as to what they can do if they wish to make that kind of a contribution. So it's really, this was, I think, the first step of what would be several steps at this point in time. I think, Julie, your plan is to do some kind of follow-up starting
Right.
after the first of the year.
Right, so just to be clear, I'm not taking on a project with this. Basically, I offered our space to come back together so that the group could meet with us. The big question from libraries at this initial meeting was, yes, we want to educate the public about leaving a legacy. We see libraries as a great education hub to tell people about this information. I mean, that's what we do. We educate people, we inform them. But when you get someone in the room and you get people thinking about legacies, perhaps they then want to leave that legacy to the library that might be hosting it, or that's one of the places that they might be thinking of. Well, then the next step is for the library to be ready to have that next conversation with someone who might be interested in leaving the legacy. Where our library's work of concern is, we want good talking points, we want good marketing materials, we want to be able to be set up that if we host a program and let people know about or educate them about leaving a legacy for whatever organization they might, identify themselves with, that if it is the library, then we want to be ready for how we would take that next step. So the company, through the Leaving a Legacy, is going to meet back with us probably towards the end of January is where we're looking at a date, to work with us on marketing materials that then would help the library. And Mark, I see you nodding your head because you and I went to some of these a few years back. And that's where Mark and I got stuck a few years ago was, we love it, we love the idea, but where do we go next? How do we move forward? What's our story? How do we make it relevant to Novi Library? And that's where we're going to go with that next step in January. And hopefully they'll help develop that for each library to take that next step and work with people who are interested in leaving that legacy. So it's very good information for us just to be aware of.
There's one thing I would add to that I failed to mention. I think we probably all of us, or if not all, most of us have received invitations from various financial planners, companies, insurance companies, et cetera, who would like us to come in, get a free dinner, and they'd like to explain things like this to us. Theirs is obviously a hook to get us in to sell us a product. This group is not soliciting business. They're not there to take the money to make investments. It's a nonprofit organization. Their sole function is, as they state, an education process for the community and for the people. So in that regard, without whether or not anyone is interested in making the library the beneficiary of this,
Right.
it fits well within what we do, which is to present programs to the public to educate and explain and inform. So whether or not we ever saw $1 out of this, it's still a really good thing to pursue if we can figure out all the things we need to figure out.
Correct.
Great.
So following that, events and marketing, we haven't had any action on that. Strategic planning, the same. Since we followed up with our updates and things, we're kind of sitting for a little bit with that. Building and Landscape Committee. I don't know if you want to go back on the floor.
Sure.
As he's been at a lot of meetings with
It
me.
was a busy month. We continue to work on finding, if we can, the best possible option for our parking lot and traffic situation. We met with a couple of people who are experts in traffic engineering. I don't recall their organization offhand.
I'm sorry, I don't either.
I probably have it in my briefcase somewhere. But the bottom line is they're going to come back in mid-January. Julie gave them a date that would be a day where we have a lot of programming and activity going on. And they're going to do a traffic study one more time to try to determine what options, if any, they can come up with that would help us. Part of the situation is that a couple things that look good from the library's viewpoint were not beneficial to the school. So we weren't able to make progress on those. We're still, if all else fails, we're still planning on addressing the one way in that we have by the library. Well, right now it's in and out, but we're looking at a minimum widening that. Before we actually commit dollars to that and begin that work, we just want to see if there are other options and what they might be. I don't know that I hold out a lot of hope that we're going to have a magic solution, but we're going to take one more look at it, because we know simply by widening the current road, it will help a little bit, but it certainly won't solve all of the problems. So that's where we're at. We'll know more. Like I said, they're going to do a study in January. We'll meet with them after that and determine what we're doing. This, by the way, the meeting was held in conjunction with the City of Novi also, so that, they're teaming up with us and have been helpful in trying to find a good solution.
Right. Mhm. And as far as I know, in terms of calendar and where we are with our planning, we're still on track for things. I haven't heard otherwise, but I will double check. But I haven't been receiving anything that we're pushing this in any way, and that wasn't our intention either, to push it back.
What is still open is the option of one-way coming in on Wildcat Drive and one-way out, which is the current joint entrance and exit.
Right.
Okay, okay.
Craig, has there been any interest by the city in funding any of this?
They have agreed.
They have.
They have in their
Yeah.
budget, I think, $50,000.
Yeah, I think they did a match, if not more. So it's, yes, we're funded for that construction to happen at that main entrance to widen it. That's been taken care of per budget already and the assistance of them. If this worked, this would change things a little bit, could save money if they really felt this was a great idea. I don't know yet until they put their expertise to it. And then we did just have a meeting, I know the board packet went out, but we did have a meeting on Tuesday, and I don't know if, Trustee Verma, if you want to speak to the Energy Reduction Coalition and that meeting a little bit?
We met yesterday with that company, nonprofit organization. Before that, I approached DTE. They did the survey, and I asked them that if there is any grant or donation. And so today, we received from DTE, they said, unfortunately, we do not have anything that we can pay for that project. And this company who came, that they want to do it, and we had so much question and answer, even our trustee Mesenek was there too. I somehow feel that the company is very young. We don't know about their background. And I asked them to send us about us, about that company. They talk about, that so-and-so was there, so-and-so. No. Give us all the details, what you had done and this and that. So I was not that much completely happy with that company. So in January, they are going to submit some more details. And then they are telling us that they can replace all bulbs, and we can get the deduction almost $300 to $200 per month. Then in the end, you can give us the check. But the point is, it will be all in writing when we will talk to them. The survey, they want to do it. I said, if you do the survey, if we don't go with that. So this has never happened, but then they will be the loser. So we want to see all those details.
Right. And I have the opportunity to be checking on some references that they provided to us of businesses and other organizations that they've already worked with where they've done these projects. So I'll be reaching out to them over the next couple weeks to get some feedback.
Just real briefly, the concept behind what they do is they will come in at no cost to us, replace our current lights with energy-efficient lights. LEDs, fixtures if need be. I don't think that's going to be a big issue for us. The savings that we will get as a result of doing that, we will share a portion of that savings with them. So if we're spending X amount on electricity right now per month, that X will go down, and the difference between the old X and the new X will share some of that extra revenue. There's a lot more to it than that, but essentially, that's the program. It sounds good, I think, as Trustee Verma mentioned. We've got a lot of things we need to find out still, but conceptually, it sounds good. And as Julie indicated, we got some pretty good references because we know some people who know those people. So we're going to be able to, I think, get a pretty good handle on what their experience was, et cetera, et cetera. They seem to know, even though it's a nonprofit company, and the people we met with have only been with that company for 1 to 2 years, but there's some background that we'll be able to check and see. So again, it's another one of these, it's step one on something that, if it works, could save a fair amount of money over a number of years.
Am I hearing we have no out-of-pocket cost at any time?
No, the cost will be there.
If I recall, and correct me, because it was literature maybe we saw, a month ago or maybe 2 months ago, but generally, what they get is the first year of savings between what we used to pay and what we pay. They would get 1 year savings?
There's
Is
a- it's a
We would-
percentage.
The first year, we would save 20%.
Correct, a minimum.
of-
They're saying a minimum they
Right,
can guarantee.
A minimum of 20% they would guarantee us. And that number grows over like a 10-year period to 60%. But there's a big chart, there's a whole bunch of background stuff, but conceptually, that's how it works. So, it looks like it could be quite profitable for us. And we're going to be able to check with some people who have had this going now for 4 or 5 years, and we'll be able to get information from them as to did we really save it or didn't we save it. But we will be writing them a check, but the amount of that check should be less than the difference between what we used to spend and what we now spend. That's the theory.
Is that?
So basically, no out-of-pocket expense to answer bill.
Yeah, I think that's true.
Right.
Yeah, and, but is that time period when they get reimbursed for more than a year or just the first year?
We pay 1 month out from when the project, we start to make a payment. So it's monthly.
But it
1
runs
month
for a
after,
number
but
of
it runs
years.
for a number of years.
Okay.
Yep,
Our
and-
percentage of the savings gets bigger each year.
Okay.
And they calculate out how long that time frame is too. It's different for different companies that they've already worked with. So I can't give you, because one had a 10-year, one had a 24-year.
Okay.
And it was a $700,000 savings for a 24-year commitment.
Yeah.
So
Now-
we'll have to see. But
Okay.
I have a number of companies that, they've been in business about 5 years, they shared with us. And so they have companies from about 4 years back that they can share and how that's been working. And then I'm familiar with one locally that, and a library that was part of it that I'm going to be reaching out to see how that might be working.
Sounds encouraging.
Yes. And that's all we have for committees, unless anyone else has anything to add.
I just, it's probably an overdue thanks that I should have mentioned months ago. I know that I had at one time sort of requested a few more arrows in the drive near the front entrance, and shortly after I requested it, I noticed that they were there, and at least to me, I thought it was helpful having a few more arrows in there.
It also helps right now that we don't have any snow.
Yeah, that probably helps too. So anyway, thank
Maybe,
you
and maybe we can keep it that way.
for arranging
Yes,
that.
Right. Well, that's Mary Ellen and her team, so, yeah.
Any questions, comments? If not, we'll move on to item number 13, which is public comment. Anybody from the audience, this is the second time in our session that you have the opportunity to make a presentation to the board. So if there's anybody, please move towards the podium. I don't see anybody moving towards the podium, so I'm going to close public comment, our second public comment, and move on to items number 14, which are matters for board action, which there are none tonight. And that leaves us to item number 15, which is an executive session. It's for the purpose of the library director mid-year review. It's an executive session, so I have to request a vote from the board on having an executive session. So everybody in favor of an executive session, would you say aye? Aye. Anybody opposed to an executive session? Hearing none, it's unanimously approved that we have an executive session. So at this point in time, we will adjourn to go to our executive session, and we do not contemplate any other business after that executive session. So we will.
It'll close out.
We will close an executive session.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Thank you.